Take a slow breath, not because someone told you to, but because your body already knows it needs one. You do not need to understand everything you are about to hear. You do not need to agree with it. You do not need to change tonight. You only need to listen. Most people are exhausted long before the day is over, not because their bodies are weak, but because their minds never stop fighting wars that do not exist. They argue with people who are not present. They replay moments that are already dead. They fear outcomes that have not arrived and may never arrive at all. And then they wonder why peace feels so far away. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he wrote to himself as if he were a student of life, not its master. He did not write to impress anyone. He did not expect applause. His words were private reminders, written in moments of quiet, to bring his mind back into order. He understood something most people still resist today, that the greatest threat to a human being is not chaos outside, but chaos within. You live in a time that rewards reaction. Everything around you is designed to pull at your attention, to provoke you, to demand an opinion, a response, a feeling. Silence is treated like weakness. Calm is mistaken for indifference. Restraint is misunderstood as fear. But the Stoic understands that emotional discipline is not the absence of feeling. It is mastery over it. There are things that belong to you, and there are things that do not. This is the foundation. Your thoughts belong to you. Your judgments belong to you. Your actions belong to you. Everything else, other people's words, their moods, their respect, their betrayal, their approval, these things were never yours to command. And yet most of your suffering comes from trying to control what was never placed in your hands. The Stoic does not ask life to be easy. He asks himself to be strong enough to meet it. He does not beg circumstances to change. He changes his relationship to them. When something goes wrong, he does not collapse into outrage or self-pity. He pauses. He observes. He asks a simple question. Is this within my control? And if the answer is no, he releases it, not with bitterness, but with clarity. This is where peace begins, not in getting what you want, but in wanting only what depends on you. You have been taught to measure yourself by outcomes, by results, by how things turn out. But outcomes are unstable. They depend on too many variables. You can do everything right and still fail. You can act with integrity and still be misunderstood. You can prepare carefully and still lose. The Stoic understands this and shifts his focus away from what he cannot guarantee. He measures himself by effort, by intention, by character. These things cannot be taken from him. Most people think strength is loud. They think it looks like dominance, aggression, control. Marcus Aurelius knew better. He knew that true strength is quiet. It is the ability to remain steady when insulted, to remain composed when challenged, to remain silent when the ego demands to speak. Anyone can react. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can defend themselves with noise. But to choose restraint when provoked, that is power. You do not need to attend every argument you are invited to. You do not need to correct everyone who misunderstands you. You do not need to prove your worth to people who are not responsible for your future. Much of what drains you is optional, but you have been conditioned to treat it as mandatory. The Stoic sees clearly that emotional energy is a limited resource. Where you spend it determines the quality of your life. If you give it away to every comment, every criticism, every passing opinion, you will have nothing left for what matters. Peace is not passive. It is guarded. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because your mind never rests. You carry conversations long after they are over. You replay moments as if repetition could change them. You worry about futures that exist only in imagination. Marcus Aurelius warned himself of this again and again. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of what troubles you is not happening. It is being rehearsed. Stoicism does not ask you to stop thinking. It teaches you to think accurately. When a thought appears, you examine it. Is this true? Is this useful? Is this within my control? If not, you let it pass, the same way you let a cloud pass across the sky. You do not chase it. You do not argue with it. You do not build a home inside it. The mind becomes peaceful not when it is empty, but when it is ordered. You live in a culture that tells you to express everything, to share everything, to react instantly. Stoicism offers a different path. It reminds you that not every feeling deserves a voice, and not every thought deserves attention. Silence is not suppression. It is selection. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing yourself well enough that you do not need validation. When praise arrives, you accept it calmly, knowing it does not add to your worth. When criticism arrives, you examine it carefully, knowing it does not define you. You remain the same person in both moments. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is foolish to be disturbed by things we cannot change. And yet disturbance has become the default state of modern life. People wake up already tense, already bracing themselves against a world they assume will disappoint them. The Stoic wakes up differently. He prepares his mind before the day prepares him. He reminds himself that he will meet selfishness, ignorance, impatience, and cruelty, not as a surprise, but as a fact of human nature. And because he expects it, he is not shaken by it. What surprises you controls you. What you accept, you master. This does not mean becoming cold or detached from life. It means engaging with it without being consumed. The Stoic feels deeply, but he does not drown in emotion. He experiences anger without becoming violent, sadness without becoming hopeless, joy without becoming dependent. One of the most difficult Stoic practices is the acceptance of impermanence. Everything you love will change. Everything you fear losing will eventually be lost. This is not meant to make you numb. It is meant to make you present. When you remember that nothing lasts forever, you stop postponing peace. You stop assuming there will always be more time. You stop wasting energy on resentment. Marcus Aurelius practiced remembering death not to frighten himself, but to sharpen his awareness. When you understand that your time is limited, trivial things lose their grip on you. Arguments feel smaller. Ego feels heavier. What remains is what matters. You begin to choose your actions more carefully. You begin to speak with intention. You begin to value stillness. Pain will come. Loss will come. Disappointment will come. Stoicism does not promise a painless life. It promises a meaningful one. When hardship arrives, the Stoic does not ask why this is happening to him. He asks what this moment requires of him: courage, patience, endurance, wisdom. Hardship is not a mistake in the design of life. It is part of the training. Fire tests metal. Resistance builds strength. Comfort teaches nothing. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. There is dignity in meeting difficulty without complaint. Not because complaining is forbidden, but because it adds nothing. The Stoic understands that suffering multiplied by resistance becomes torment. Suffering accepted becomes experience. You do not need to dominate the world to live well. You do not need to be admired by everyone. You do not need to be understood. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his philosophy was not about power over others, but power over himself. That is the only power that lasts. Live quietly. Do your work well. Treat others with fairness. Accept what comes. Release what leaves. This is not a small life. It is a stable one. Let people be loud. Let the world rush. Let opinions clash and egos compete. You do not have to join every storm. There is strength in standing still while chaos passes around you. As you listen now, let your body soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. You have carried enough for today. Thinking can pause. Analyzing can rest. The world will continue without your supervision. You are allowed to be calm. You are allowed to be silent. You are allowed to be unfinished. Marcus Aurelius did not end his writings with dramatic conclusions. He wrote reminders, not manifestos. Life does not need a grand ending. It needs presence. Breathe slowly. Remain where you are. Nothing is required of you right now. This moment is sufficient.